George Lindsay truly hated her more than anyone. George Lindsay was an iconic American actor and comedian, best known for his role as the lovable and dim-witted mechanic Goober Pyle on The Andy Griffith Show and its spin-off Mayberry RFD. Born on December 17, 1928, in Fairfield, Alabama, Lindsay grew up during the Great Depression, which shaped his work ethic and sense of humor. His early life in Alabama, deeply rooted in Southern traditions, heavily influenced the kind of characters he portrayed throughout his career. Lindsay's upbringing in small-town America, coupled with his innate charm and wit, enabled him to bring authenticity to the roles he played, particularly Goober Pyle, which became an iconic part of 1960s television culture. Lindsay attended Kemper Military School before enrolling at the University of Alabama, where he majored in physical education and played football. His athletic abilities and love for sports were lifelong passions. Though he initially dreamed of becoming a professional athlete or coach, an injury ended those ambitions. It was during his college years that Lindsay discovered his love for theater and performance. After graduating in 1952, he pursued acting more seriously and even served in the U.S. Air Force before eventually moving to New York City to study acting at the American Theater Wing. In the early 1960s, Lindsay began to make a name for himself on television with small roles in various shows, but it wasn't until 1964, when he was cast as Goober Pyle, that his career took off. Goober, the cousin of the already established character Gomer Pyle, played by Jim Nabors, quickly became a fan favorite. Lindsay brought his Southern charm and unique comedic timing to the character, often donning a trademark beanie and delivering lines in a slow, good-natured drawl. Goober's goofy, wide-eyed innocence and down-home wisdom made him one of the most beloved characters on The Andy Griffith Show, and Lindsay's portrayal of Goober left an indelible mark on television history. Lindsay continued to play Goober Pyle on Mayberry RFD after The Andy Griffith Show ended in 1968, and the character appeared in various TV specials and reunions over the years. In addition to his work in Mayberry, Lindsay also starred on Hee Haw, a long-running country variety show where he further showcased his comedic talents, often performing in humorous skits that highlighted his rural persona. His work on Hee Haw connected him with an even larger audience and cemented his status as a comedic icon in the country entertainment scene. Lindsay's career extended beyond his signature role. He guest-starred in numerous television shows, including Gunsmoke, The Twilight Zone, MASH, and The Alfred Hitchcock Hour. He was also a talented voice actor, lending his voice to animated films such as The Aristocats, 1970, and Robin Hood, 1973, where he voiced characters that further emphasized his affinity for Southern charm and humor. George Lindsay, best known for his portrayal of the lovable but simple-minded Goober Pyle on The Andy Griffith Show, harbored deep resentment toward one of his fellow cast members, Frances Bavier, who played the matronly and endearing Aunt Bee. While Lindsay's character was known for his affable and goofy demeanor, off-screen, tensions simmered between him and Bavier, creating a dynamic that was far from the familial harmony their on-screen personas suggested. The tension between Lindsay and Bavier was not widely known during the height of The Andy Griffith Show's popularity, but it was one of those industry secrets that occasionally leaked out in interviews or memoirs. The origins of their strained relationship can be traced back to differences in personality, professionalism, and approach to acting. Bavier, a seasoned actress with a Broadway background, was known for being meticulous and highly professional, often taking her role as Aunt Bee very seriously. In contrast, Lindsay, who came from a background in stand-up comedy and had a much more laid-back, jovial approach to his craft, saw acting as a form of entertainment that didn't necessarily require the same level of gravity. Bavier's insistence on treating her work with the utmost seriousness reportedly clashed with Lindsay's more casual attitude, and this led to friction on set. Frances Bavier was known to be a somewhat reclusive and private person off-screen, often keeping to herself and avoiding too much social interaction with her castmates. Lindsay, on the other hand, enjoyed the camaraderie and lightheartedness that came with being part of a hit television series. This difference in temperament only fueled the growing animosity between the two. Frances Bavier was notorious for being difficult to work with, a reputation that followed her throughout her years on The Andy Griffith Show and later on Mayberry RFD. While her portrayal of Aunt Bee earned her acclaim as a warm, loving, and dependable maternal figure, her off-camera persona was starkly different. Cast and crew members have spoken in interviews about her prickly nature, often describing her as standoffish, temperamental, and critical of her co-stars' performances. Bavier's aloofness often alienated her from the rest of the cast, who generally got along well. Andy Griffith himself reportedly had his share of run-ins with her, but it was Lindsay who seemed to bear the brunt of her disdain. Lindsay felt that Bavier looked down on him, viewing him as less talented or professional than some of the other actors on the show. This sense of being judged and disrespected contributed significantly to his growing resentment. Another source of friction between Lindsay and Bavier was their contrasting views on comedy. While Bavier's background was rooted in drama, Lindsay's was steeped in the world of comedy. His character Goober was intended to be a light, humorous addition to the show, providing comic relief with his country bumpkin charm. Bavier, however, reportedly had little patience for this type of humor, particularly the slapstick and silly antics that Lindsay's character often engaged in. She saw Lindsay's comedic style as unsophisticated, and this further fueled her disdain. Bavier's rigid and serious approach to acting was at odds with the lighthearted and improvisational nature of the comedic scenes that Lindsay often participated in. This philosophical difference about the craft of acting likely deepened the divide between the two actors. Bavier may have viewed Lindsay's contributions as trivial compared to her more serious role as the moral center of the show. As the years passed, Lindsay's frustration with Bavier only seemed to deepen. By all accounts, Lindsay was well liked by most of his fellow cast members, including Andy Griffith and Don Knotts, but his encounters with Bavier were marked by coldness and hostility. He reportedly felt that Bavier went out of her way to make him feel unwelcome or inferior on set, often dismissing his attempts to engage in friendly conversation or collaborate on scenes. In interviews later in his life, Lindsay would allude to the tension between him and Bavier, hinting at the fact that working with her was far from pleasant. While he generally avoided going into too much detail, it was clear that Lindsay harbored lingering animosity toward her. He often spoke about how difficult it was to reconcile the warm, maternal figure of Aunt Bee with the real-life Frances Bavier, whom he described as cold and unapproachable. Despite the off-screen tension, Lindsay and Bavier's characters continued to work together in various episodes of The Andy Griffith Show and its spin-off Mayberry RFD. Remarkably, their strained relationship did not significantly affect their on-screen performances. Goober and Aunt Bee often shared lighthearted and affectionate moments in Mayberry, though Lindsay later admitted that it was difficult to act as though he liked her when he so strongly disliked her in real life. However, some fans of the show have speculated that, in hindsight, the tension between the actors may have occasionally bled into their performances. There are moments in certain episodes where the warmth between Aunt Bee and Goober feels slightly forced or awkward, leading to speculation that the actors were struggling to hide their true feelings for each other. Lindsay's dislike for Bavier persisted long after The Andy Griffith Show ended, and it remained a topic of conversation in interviews and memoirs for years to come. While Lindsay went on to have a successful career in television and film, his experiences on the show were forever tinged by his fraught relationship with Bavier. In contrast, Bavier retired from acting after Mayberry RFD, retreating to a life of solitude in Siler City, North Carolina, where she lived out her final years in near isolation. She reportedly regretted her strained relationships with her castmates, and in her later years, she attempted to make amends, particularly with Andy Griffith. However, it is unclear whether she ever reconciled with George Lindsay, and by all accounts, Lindsay remained bitter toward her until the end of his life. Their contentious relationship serves as a reminder that even in the idyllic world of Mayberry, not everything was as harmonious behind the scenes as it appeared on screen. Despite their differences, both Lindsay and Bavier left indelible marks on television history, with their characters becoming beloved by generations of fans. Yet, for those who knew them behind the scenes, their feud was a notable and unfortunate chapter in the otherwise warm legacy of The Andy Griffith Show. Despite his fame, George Lindsay remained a humble and generous man throughout his life. He was actively involved in various charitable causes, most notably the Special Olympics. For over 17 years, he hosted the George Lindsey Celebrity Golf Weekend in Montgomery, Alabama, which raised funds for the Alabama Special Olympics and other charitable organizations. Lindsey's dedication to helping others was widely recognized, and his charitable efforts earned him several accolades, including induction into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame in the humanitarian category. George Lindsey passed away on May 6, 2012, at the age of 83. His death marked the end of an era for fans of The Andy Griffith Show and Hee Haw, but his legacy endures through the timeless nature of his performances. He was remembered not only for his comedic genius but also for his kindness, generosity, and dedication to improving the lives of others. Tributes poured in from fellow actors, fans, and public figures, all of whom acknowledged Lindsey's contributions to American entertainment and his deep impact on television comedy. Ron Howard, who played Opie on The Andy Griffith Show, said in a statement following Lindsey's death, "George Lindsey was a man of great humor and heart. He had a big spirit, and he was a lot of fun. He really made a difference in the lives of so many, including me." Andy Griffith also paid tribute to Lindsey, recalling the joy he brought to the set and the wonderful friendship they shared over the decades. Griffith stated, "Our hearts and minds will forever remember George's brilliant portrayal of Goober and his love of making people laugh." George Lindsey's portrayal of Goober Pyle remains one of television's most endearing and enduring performances. He turned a simple small-town mechanic into a beloved cultural figure who resonated with audiences across the country. Through his humor, warmth, and humanity, George Lindsey left an indelible mark on the world of entertainment, and his legacy continues to bring laughter and joy to those who grew up watching him on screen. In a world that often feels fast-paced and chaotic, Lindsey's Goober Pyle serves as a reminder of the value of simplicity, kindness, and humor, a legacy that will never be forgotten.